true. I want to be a voice for Zion, to guide, to build and change the world while I am in my youth.
Welcome into a special edition of the Key David podcast here on Zion Media. I'm joined by David the Lion Douglas. He's just dropped the David, and now it's the Lion. And we got Trevor the Key Keys, and we're joined by the fourth member of our broadcast, Lancelot Weaver. And we have something cool that we're bringing to you. This is not a normal episode. In fact, we've been talking a lot about Book of Mormon geography. We spent a lot of time talking about Mexico as being a part of that. We spent a lot of time talking about this place called Monte Alban. I'm talking about a little place where the salmon flow like the salmon of Capistrano. You catch that reference? You dumb and dumber ites out there. Yeah, we're talking about Monte Alban. We're talking about a little Zion Media trip, and we're opening it up to a group of limiting it to 6 people. So if you're interested in coming to Monte Alban, and by the end of this video, I'm pretty sure you will be, we've created contact forms. Listen, if you want to know more about this and you want to jump on a FaceTime call with all of us, we're happy to do that. And here's the thing that I don't think many of you know. Lance Weaver's actually a tour guide. Like, as part of what he does, he takes people on tours all of the time to Zion, to a variety of different places. And so this trip will be a guided tour by the Zion Media guys, which we're going to leave it up to Lance to kind of tell us where we're going and what we're seeing. But trust me when I tell you, Trevor's going to be coordinating where we're staying, food we're eating, and this is an all-expense paid-for trip. I'm going to have Trevor go through the details about the cost, how much it's going to be,
not including
airfare.
Including airfare.
It won't include airfare, but Trevor's going to go through. We found some really inexpensive flights, but we are looking for 6 people that want to come along and want to go see the Temple of Nephi. And with that, Trevor, I'm going to kick it to you to lay out the details, the cost, the dates, how much it's going to be, and I'll kind of ask questions as you go through it as well, and kind of be that person that might be interested in going and asking you some questions.
Cool. Okay, so I think we'll be able to pop up on the screen these bullet points as we speak them, because we'll air this later. But essentially, we wanted to make this intimate, even though, Lance, tour guide or whatever, we didn't want to lose and have there be just like 10, 15, 20 people. And I'm sure we could have done it for a little bit cheaper if we did it in volume, right? But we just wanted to keep it like our crew, one other crew. We got 5 people ideally is what we were looking for. Shane brought up that, let's keep it to 6 in case there wants to be 3 couples or group of 4, group of 2. So 5 to 6 people. And what is included in this is you're going to get your own airfare because everyone's coming from different places. We'll talk about airfare and the deals that we've found. But just acutely, out of Las Vegas, I'm probably going to drive, David's probably going to drive from Salt Lake to Las Vegas because you can get a direct flight. There's 3 different flights for $500 to $550. Those are direct flights. If you don't mind a layover, you can get flights for $300 right now out of Vegas. I'm sure LA is better. Utah, it was more expensive. It was like $670, $800 for a flight, but just getting to Vegas, it was dramatically cheaper. So you guys take care of your airfare. What we're going to be including is for November 13th through the 17th, we will have an Airbnb the night of November 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. 17th is a Sunday, and so we won't be staying overnight. That the Airbnb will be checking out. And so the price includes nice Airbnb. Like, you can get a good value in Mexico for nice Airbnbs. And it's Airbnb and then food, snacks. We're going to have stuff for breakfast every single morning and lunch to make your own sandwiches, make your own breakfast for lunch, really nice snacks, drinks. energy bars, just stack it like Shane and I would for our own private, vacation. And you're kind of posh on vacations, you're splurging a little bit. So there's going to be really good food, snacks. And then every night we're going to find a place, take everyone out to dinner. And the dinner, we have budgeted in this for a very nice dinner every single day out there. And then in the day, Lance is going to talk about what we do. But all of that is $1,500. And that includes your rental car. That includes your Airbnb. Includes all your food.
So the only thing it doesn't include is my airfare. So it's $1,500. That covers all my lodging, all my food. That covers, Lance being our tour guide. I mean, that's a great value. $1,500. So the only thing extra would be airfare, and that's it.
That's it.
Cool.
Pretty basic. And the days are the 13th of November. We're going to stay in Mexico City that night, which is close to our first destination, which will be Tuesday, the next day, the next morning. Lance will talk about it. But that's, how do I pronounce it, Lance? Teotihuacan. Teotihuacan. Okay. We're going to show some cool clips about that. And so night 2 will be spent down in Oaxaca, further south. And we may jump from 2 Airbnbs when we're down.
Are we going to go see the white Lamanites?
We're going to
see what we can do. I don't know.
And attempt. So, by the way, I went out and did some searching on my own. If I was to do this by myself for $1,500, I could probably do it for myself. It gets a little expensive because you're not sharing rental cars, you're not sharing hotel, all of the food, and so this is a good value, and you get this guide by Lance. That's the thing that I'm the most excited about. Is it's fun going down. I've done Chichen Itza by myself, but to have somebody that's going to be telling me all the goodies and everything about it and how it ties into LDS theology, how it ties into the Book of Mormon, all of these other crazy things that Lance is into, like that's the value. That's what you're getting for this.
And you're going to have to be willing to go on camera because a lot of this stuff is going to be aired on Zion Media. And so you'll have to be willing to be there.
You can avoid
But get the back of your head.
We hope that you'll participate with us. It'll be fun. You get to hang out with the 3 of us and Lance as all of our tour guide. So
be a party.
With that said, Lance, tell me about like where we're going, why we're going there, what's the geography, how does it tie into Book of Mormon geography, LDS theology?
All right, yeah. So let me go through a couple things just to whet everybody's appetite, right? Because most of the tours that I do, on occasion, on the side, kind of once in a while, I'll do geology tours in Zion and Bryce. And this tour that we're going to be doing will basically be free. My geology tours are fairly pricey. But this is going to be like, if you come along, you'll kind of be experimental because even though I've been down there, we don't know exactly where we're going to get to find our food and stuff yet. So we're going to plan all that stuff and get it found out, but it's going to be really cheap. Just because I'm pretty much doing it for free. Just because it's going to be awesome. And to get this great, we're going to go down there and just get some great footage. And if you are not sold on my model, I guarantee you after you do this tour, you will be sold on this model. And hopefully we get some people who want to come, if they do, who are kind of spiritually inclined, because it's not just the coolness of what you're going to see. You'll feel it. It's pretty cool down there. And so let me show my screen a little bit. I'm just going to have this playing while I explain some of the little things. Okay. So I guarantee that when we're there, that it's not going to be as dramatically amazing as some of this footage I'm going to show you. There's a dry season and there's a wet season. And in the wet season, it is so green and beautiful, both in Teotihuacan and in Monte Alban, all the Mexican highland, amazingly green, but it also rains every single day and it makes tours really difficult. And so the dry season, it's super brown and hot. We're going there right at the end of the wet season. So November, it should be cooling down, but our days are kind of short, which is a little bad. But check out like Monte Alban here, right? This place is just spectacular. I mean, like I say, it's up on a 1,200-foot mountain. They just planed the whole mountain off, built these amazing pyramids that they've got. Even today, there's like, I think, 5 different east-facing pyramids, one of the very few places in all of Mesoamerica that has exactly north-south coordinate system and east-facing pyramids, 2-room east-facing pyramids with 2 columns, a massive altar, cisterns. There's one of the altars right there. You can see right here, this huge altar. And the other ones, like right over here, this major altar. They've got, right behind here is an observatory that actually helps to track kind of Jewish holidays, essentially. Like over here, there's another pyramid that we didn't see. They're all got these 2 columns, just like King Solomon's. Oh, check out that. You can see the huge altar right there. And there's cisterns lining this. And anyway, I've got LiDAR from the original temple, right? This was all built right there at the Book of Mormon time, 600 to 500 BC. And I'll tell all about the valley, just so much amazing stuff. You'll have to watch our other videos so I can really, because there's so many things going on in this valley. From the other, there's 5 different city centers. There's all these warring polities. There's like this no man's land that they have between the 2 major centers, population centers.
Do both of these places have the sun and the moon temples or pyramids? Because I know Teotihuacan does.
Yeah, Teotihuacan does. This one right here has quite a few different pyramid bounds, but it's more of like a Solomon's temple than a pyramid, right? Like even this right here, it's not so much a pyramid. This is like their main building, and it's just 2-room temple, more like Solomon's. And the originals was like elongated like Solomon's. I'll show you a LiDAR picture. And there's these massive altars, and they had all of these movable altars that went around it, and then these cisterns to keep water, just like Jerusalem has the exact same things. It really is spectacular. And the way that it matches both in the time period, there's nothing that even comes close. In fact, it's kind of funny because even like Sorensen Model and all these people who kind of believe it's down in the Mayan lands, they'll always end up like trying to fit Monte Alban in somehow, or referencing it because it's like, well, there's only a couple temples, but there's this one, but that one's outside of our model, so it can't be it, right? But it totally is. Once you see all the evidence, I guarantee you'll be convinced because it's overwhelmingly convincing.
And Lance, you speak Spanish, and I know Trevor speaks Spanish. Is that right?
See, Papi.
So,
whoa, look at this video.
If you're wondering, how are we going to get around there? Listen, we got 2 guys that speak, and I've heard Trevor's Spanish. It is impressive.
Listen,
I'm a husker, baby. I just want you to know. So, yeah. So, we got 2 guys.
Imagino que hablas mucho mejor que yo.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds
Hablo
good.
poco.
I hablo gringo español. Yeah. Okay, so the other place we're going to see is Teotihuacan, right? And Teotihuacan is my city, Laconia.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
So this site, there's just nothing that compares to it. Teotihuacan is so unbelievable. And like I said, I believe that this was the city that was built by Laconius around 17 AD when the Gadian robbers got to be so bad that they gathered the people from all over the land into one central area, right? Zarahemla, and that it says specifically an area right between Bountiful and Zarahemla. And Teotihuacan shows that in the time matches perfectly, the archaeology matches perfectly. They always are talking about how they don't know what it was that made it urbanized so quickly. And they wonder if there was a volcano going off of Zitla, erupting around Cuicuilco. That's what caused like this huge immigration of people. But not only that, it's not just Cuicuilco. It's like the entire surrounding area comes in, and they form these barrios from all the surrounding cultures. So you've got like a Zapotec barrio, a Huastec barrio, people from down in Cholula. They're all coming in and building these neighborhoods. And like that matches perfectly with what the Book of Mormon says. That it's like what made them urbanize? They were afraid for their lives, and you had this major leader come in. And not only that, this is crazy. It's interesting how often Teotihuacan is compared to Rome, because literally, like in the 1st to 3rd century AD, it was bigger than Rome. Like this city was bigger than Rome at the time.
Two of the documentaries that I watched showed that at the time it was the largest populated city in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely within the top 6. So absolutely an amazing city center. And it's kind of hilarious because like in the Mesoamerican or the Mayan models, they're always trying to say like, these are the Gadian robbers, or something silly like that. It's like the Gadian robbers is pretty specific when it talks about them. They are like guerrilla warfare groups. They are not an urbanized empire, right? It's just, it's wild. The Nephites are an urbanized empire. And not only that, so the fact that this city is built on a grid, it's one of the only cities that's built on almost a north-south grid. And a lot of the videos you'll see, they'll talk about how the villas are almost kind of like Roman-esque. They almost remind you of some of the Roman villas. Well, notice Laconius's name, like that's Latin. Like what the heck is Latin doing in the Book of Mormon? Why do we have a name that's Latin? Well, it's because he was coming over from Rome, right? He built a city, and there are motifs that fit the old world that come in here. And I mean, I'll just kind of show some of the other. So in the very next valley over in Toluca, they actually found, let me see if I can find this really quick. The Toluca figurine, it's right here. They found a Greek Roman, Etruscan really, Etruscan is early Roman figurine. Where is it? In an archaeological dig. And I've read these accounts by the actual archaeologist, and he swears, he's like, his graduate student found there's no way that he thinks there's no way that somebody planted that thing. Like even these look super Asiatic. But let me find. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to find this really quick.
So when I think of this, like $2,000 for a guided tour down to Mexico covers everything. Like that's a pretty good deal. So I think not only is it a guided tour, I think it's going to be a spiritual experience for all of us. Like Lance has said, like you can feel it when you go there. I'm excited to feel that. Plus, like I said, you get to hang out with the Zion Media crew. Like, I mean,
it'll be a party. It'll be awesome.
It'll be a party for sure. And Trevor is hilarious. I promise you. He is the comedy hour. I'm excited to travel with him. He and I have a lot of fun when we traveled in the past. So trust me, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, it should be fun. But anyway, you can look this up. So under 2 subfloors, they excavated this Etruscan head, which matches all of these Etruscan heads that were found throughout Greece, Rome, all the way over to Iran. And so there's one in a valley over from Teotihuacan. And it's like, why is Laconius's name Latin? It's because there is actually Roman influence around the time of Christ coming over to the New World. And we'll talk about so many cool things, right? So I hope that everybody who's watching this has gone back and seen the presentation by Chief Midiga, where he kind of talks about all the different groups that are coming to the Americas that he has in their records, right? And this fits Ixtlilxochitl. Remember Fernando Ixtlilxochitl, a guy that I talked about, who told this history of all the different people that came to the Americas. Like the ancient world had all these periods where the shipping lanes would open up when these big empires would happen, and there'd be groups coming over to the Americas, and maybe they wouldn't get recorded. Maybe the word of their voyage would just kind of go into myth like Atlantis, But there really is a lot of record, especially here in the Americas, of all of these landings. I have them mapped out, right? And I'll talk about them when we go there. We'll talk about all the different landings. We'll talk about how the Mulekites were coming over, at the same time that the Kolbrin was being written. The Kolbrin tells about all the different groups that are coming from Crete, from Cyprus, from Turkey, from Egypt. There's just a long list of voyagers that were coming to England from the Mediterranean, but some of those same people skipped all the way over to the New World, right? And so the Mulekites...
Have you or have we covered this as a possible explanation of why the DNA for Americas is so difficult to pin down?
Well, I mean, I think we've talked about it a little bit, but the DNA, it's pretty easy for DNA to get lost in a population. And probably one of the best examples of that is Rome and England. Like you try and find Roman DNA, and there's lots of papers on this, in English skeletons, and it's really difficult, right? We know that Rome absolutely conquered England, right, in the 1st century AD. Not only that, they built Hadrian's Wall. They had so many outposts, and they were the aristocracy for 300 years. They ruled England completely, like Iron Hand. And yet you try and find DNA, Roman DNA, within England from that first 5 centuries, they just didn't mix a whole lot, and it got absorbed pretty rapidly, because even though they were heavy-handed and they were the de facto rulers, they didn't really mix with the natives a whole lot, right? And they were relatively few people, just a small aristocracy that was ruling things. So I mean, I hope so. There is DNA, and I think the majority of the DNA that the Heartland group is really kind of finding that stuff. And it shows because a lot of the pervasive larger numbers that came over to the New World, I think, went to the land of Mulek, which is the land northward, right? So the Heartland is the land of Mulek. And I have never told Chief Midigaw that. I mean, he's just saying that by himself. It's crazy. His model matches mine so perfectly. Him talking about the Austronesians, I've never really explained the Austronesians, definitely not to him. I don't think he's been looking at my stuff. And yeah, they've got really good records. He understands how the Austronesians were coming over. I have so much stuff that on this trip, like I say, I'll just talk for hours, and you'll be able to hear all the different groups that came over, from the Jaredites to the Amalekites. That's another one that we don't really know very much about, but in the archaeology, what I've found is that in the Kolbrin, it talks about the Amalekites conquering Egypt, right? And so the biblical Amalekites lived right there in Canaan, basically in Lebanon and Syria, and they conquered Egypt, right? And I say they are actually the Hyksos. So the Hyksos are an archaeologically dated group that they know conquered Egypt. Their dating is a little bit off, and I'll kind of explain about the Hallstatt Plateau, which makes radioactive dates.
I have a question for you, Lance, and maybe I've been reading in the Old Testament. I've been reading, actually, I just find it really fascinating at some of the words. The Amalekites, you've got, there's Ammonites, I think, right, in Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
But these people can't be the same people or have any relation to the Book of Mormon people.
No. So I believe strongly that when the Book of Mormon uses a name like that, it's trying to point us toward the fact that they're somehow related. Even just the name Ammon, it's not like Ammon is an Ammonite from Israel, but the name has some of those same Asiatic roots, right? So that is probably a name that has come in from the people of Zarahemla, because the people of Zarahemla, those who would call themselves Mulekites, the Book of Mormon calls them Mulekites, are an amalgamation, right, of a lot of different groups. Because we've got the Assyrian motifs, especially in Chalcatzingo and La Venta, because Assyria was coming over. And so there were quite a few groups, and the Amalekites way before that. The Amalekites were coming over, almost 1700 BC to 1400 BC, because they ruled Egypt, and they basically had the Phoenicians as vassals of theirs. And so they came over, and there's so much cool stuff. When they came over, the early Egyptians and the Amalekites that kind of took over those early Egyptian, that they sided with a large empire that existed in southern Africa, which is why a lot of those Olmec heads have such African features, because they kind of came over with them. In fact, Egypt was more sub-Saharan African before it got taken over by Asiatics, before the Hyksos. But so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how La Venta fits in it. We'll talk about how the Amalekites were part of an Egyptian empire. They have a string of cities. If you can see my cursor here, I'll just show on the map. Starting in the El Mirador Basin, going all the way up to I'm forgetting the Watson Break Mounds, which dates to like 4000 BC, but definitely takes off by 2000 BC. They had this string of cities right here, and it's right along a meridian that's exactly 130 degrees away from the Giza pyramids, and there's 3 of them. And those are nodes that, if you want to study eclipses happen on a schedule in 3 parts of the world, every, I can't remember what it is, definitely every 52 years. It's a smaller thing. If you want to study them, you have to set up like a station to watch it on those 3 nodes. And there's a bunch of evidence in the archaeology right on those nodes, the Giza pyramid being one, I think the El Mirador pyramid being another one, and then the other one is in Indonesia. But we'll talk about that stuff, but especially how the Heartland and all of the Mulekite stuff fits in it with it, because that was their first landing. It even says that, right? They landed in the land of desolation, land northward, and then from thence came up into the south wilderness, right? And lost their writing and their identity in the south, whereas in the north, I believe they actually kept their writing and kept their identity. And so all the groups that Chief Midigaw is talking about, right? They kept their writing. Anyway, we'll find out.
One thing that was super interesting to me, the Midiga said, is that the Peruvian people that built Machu Picchu and some of that other stuff in the same region was a totally separate group that came. I can't remember if it was pre or post Tower of Babel. I think it was pre-Tower of Babel. And that's what their Indian writings say.
Yeah, it's kind of like right after the flood. And the Law of One actually had some really interesting details on that.
Wild to think about.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of that speculation, because that the South American is a separate group, but I think Christ visited them too.
Hey, can we Lance, can we do a campfire? Even if we don't have a campfire, we'll have a campfire night. And I want to talk about all of the ancient architecture and how they look so closely connected, like the person carrying the bags that's showing up on another continent carrying a bag. And I want to hear what your best theory is.
Oh, that would be
Who
amazing.
built all of these? Who built all of these?
Yeah, we'll go through everything. Like I
Watchers,
say, and then-
Anunnaki, Enoch, Hermes Trismegistus. Like, who's building these?
yeah,
Yeah.
because I think that the civilizations that lived before Moses, like the Egyptian civilization, when they built the pyramids date to like 2300 BC. The Egyptian culture at that point was a global culture. Like they were very high, and their knowledge of astronomy was through the roof. And OASP talks about how that, anyway, it goes so much detail on what they did with the pyramids and how it was like an astronomical observatory and how they built them all over the world, which I'm trying to find them in the archaeology. Like I think Stonehenge is one. It was built about the exact same time. I think Carral in the South American coast is one, and it actually fits with El Mirador, the Mirador Basin, right? And these nodes I was talking about where they're using them to track the moon and the eclipses so they can really understand the eclipse cycle. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk about these LiDAR studies. Where this is the original temple in Monte Alban.
Tell me you're not an absolutist on that 2300 BC. Like, tell me your numbers are fungible to a much older date.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, I have a lot of different, when it comes to radiocarbon dating, if someone shows me the evidence, I am totally, radiocarbon dating can change really easily. All you got to do is have a different level of solar flux, or even, coronal mass ejections can throw them off. But they know that there are big plateaus. And as time has gone on, like I'm beginning to, I've come to trust carbon dating a little bit more than I used to. But still, we could have all sorts of great fun speculations about that, because there's a lot of dated places that I absolutely
Where do
don't
you hold Randall Carlson and Graham
Hancock.
Hancock?
Like I think that their whole crowd is coming up with so many great parallels, like to show that pre-Columbian, transoceanic, and global really travel would definitely happened, like stuff that is hard to dismiss. But at the same time, they've got little parts of their theories that are kind of like, that's not very believable given all the evidence. Maybe you're being a little too out there with that. But I love speculating on all that stuff. So, I mean, when we come here as a group, everyone can throw out their speculations and we'll really look at the evidence and try.
Hey, last thing I want to get all of us to commit to. Will each of you guys, for 1 hour, one night, at least 1 hour, try to hunt UFOs with me? All we do is we sit on a little, look at the stars, try to find Starlink, try to find anything, but hopefully we see a UFO.
Hey, you never know.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, but we'll go to at least 5 major sites, and I mean, there's up to 15 that we could go to. So we'll definitely go to Teotihuacan. We'll talk about Helium 4 and 5. We'll talk about Laconius. God, there's so much cool stuff. We'll talk about, as we go down to Chalcanzingo on our way back. Chalcanzingo is basically the first Zarahemla. Oh, that's something I want to show here so people can kind of see this. Okay, so this is the region that we're going to go to, right? And so, okay, if you can see my cursor here, here's Monte Alban in the Valley of Oaxaca. So it is this crazy highland, and I would navigate all over the place on this, but I know it's going to make the video crash if I do, because it's so intensive. But we got Monte Alban in this big Oaxaca Valley, but it's way up high, right? 6,000 to 8,000 feet. And then we have the Mixtec lands here, and there's so much cool stuff. That's where the white Indians live, and there's so much mythology. And even writings that are so similar to what Chief Mittagah was saying, because they have these pictographic books where they have a single picture and tons is going on there. But they have entire stories that are all kind of like locked up in these single pictograms, right? So we'll go through some of those. There's a ton of those people who believe that Christ went and visited them. But my Mixtec lands is basically the frontier between the land of Nephi here and the land of Zarahemla. The Balsas Basin here is this lowland where Cuernavaca is, and that is the original land of Zarahemla. Chalcanzingo, which is right here, is the original kingdom, basically, of Zarahemla himself, right? So Mosiah came to Chalcanzingo and would have kind of partnered with the king, Zarahemla. but then went and created his own city a little bit to the east. But as the wars got more and more serious around the time of Moroni, for safety, they started moving up out of the basin, out of the Bosphorus Basin, up into the highland. So that by the time you hit about the Book of Helaman, then the people...
Where is that modern day city? What modern day city is that?
So we're looking at this right here is the Valley of Mexico. That's Mexico City. And that's where Teotihuacan is,
Okay.
right? And Cuicuilco. So it's the biggest archaeological sites in North America by far, like no comparison. You got Cholula right here and Puebla. And so those ended up being kind of late in the history. That ended up being the main capital. And there is a pyramid, the Cholula Pyramid, which is the biggest pyramid in the world, bigger than the Giza pyramids by volume, insanely large. And so we'll go through that and talk about it and the population center there. And then we'll go down the basin and talk about Chalcanzingo, which I say it's like the original Zarahemla, way down in the basin. There's so many cool things, even from the garden that it talks about that Nephi went and prayed in, right? It's like all the way into Aztec times. There's like this super famous garden right down north of Chalcanzingo, north of my Zarahemla, that Montezuma that like restored this ancient garden. And I think, well, that's pretty cool. That even fits with the idea that there was a garden down there with... Anyway, almost every little aspect of the Book of Mormon, especially like that, the aspects in Helaman 4 where the kingmen come in, right? And it talks about the hill Antum, I think it's Antum, that they go and hide up. So we'll talk about the volcanoes. We'll talk about how these volcanoes align with the sun, how all these sites were like built to, like Cholula is a really cool example. Like it has 3 different volcanoes, and one of them, the sun rises directly over it. And the other one is at the exact same angle that the observatory in Monte Alban points to, which really kind of shows that it's like, well, there's a connection between Monte Alban and Cholula because they have the exact same astronomical alignments. Like, how cool is that? You know, and God, there's too much stuff to go over, but it should be fun. It'll be cool. We'll have a day. Talk about one thing after.
I'll tell you what, if you're not excited after seeing this, and trust me, for those of you who know me, I did not grow up in a camping family. My dad's idea of camping was staying at the Four Seasons. And so when we travel, trust me, it's going to be nice. It's not going to be something that's dumpy or gross. I wouldn't even stay at a Days Inn, for heaven's sakes. I went and found me an Airbnb when we had a Days Inn to stay at. So trust me, when we are looking and booking places where we'll be staying, it's going to be 4-star, 5-star quality type stuff. I'm really excited about it. Again, there's only 5 to 6 spots available. Trevor, you're on mute.
Thank you. One thing that I don't think we've clarified, we've since we had originally announced this, we thought we were going to go with couples, but we're not anymore. The 4 boys are going here, and those of us who have significant others are staying home. So it's just going to be the 4 of us. It could be the 4 of you or the 6 of you. You can bring your significant other, or you can come with a friend, whatever. So just keep that in mind.
My wife did say before we did this, I told her I was getting on this call. She said, there's a 20% chance that I would come. So, Amy Shoka, I said, if you want to come. If you don't want to come, no big deal, no pressure.
If you stay with Shane, you'll be in like a super plush place. And then if you go with me, I'll go drive somewhere and stay in my car just so that I can drive all night to get some footage in the morning of some crazy archaeological site in the middle of nowhere. I drove down there with my son and we slept in the car like I almost got mugged one of the times. That's great. I've got some fun stories to tell.
We won't be doing that. So Lance will be taking you to the safe sites and explaining all these sites. It's going to be awesome. There's, like I said, there's 6 spots available. Trevor, how do they, if they want to do it, how do they sign up? How do they let us know that they're in so we can, start lining everything out?
Okay, so click on the Zion Media logo or on our name, and right by us, you're going to see our link tree. Click on the link tree, and that's going to take you to a form that you can go in and you can either reserve it or you can set up a call to ask us more questions, FaceTime, phone call, whatever. And then we'll just be updating on videos when they've sold out. But if you haven't heard us announce that they've sold out, keep reaching out to us.
Yeah, I have a sneaky spidey sense that says once this video airs, we're going to be getting multiple requests and going to have to shut this down because we'll fill it up really quick. So trust me, it's going to fill up quick. To have a guy like Lance that's willing to do a tour for free is incredible. So thank you, Lance, for agreeing to do this.
If people can't get into this one, we'll try and do some future ones. We'll do one in the Southwest because there's amazing Book of Mormon stuff there, and then we'll do one in Cahokia
Me too.
and the heartland of the U.S. because there's a lot of cool Book of Mormon stuff there.
This is just the first of the many Zion Media trips and tours that we're going to be doing. So yes, jump on this one though. This one's going to be incredible. I'm really excited for it. So Lance, thanks for agreeing to take me and others that are kind of new to this Book of Mormon geography and learning about it on this guided tour. David, you have some final things. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes. I wanted to make sure that we didn't finish this video without acknowledging those that have actually donated to me participating in this trip. And so I just wanted to put together a little list of people that have basically contributed a list. I'll just put their first names and then just like last initial on here. But, you see your name on the screen and you also see how much they would donate. It allowed me to actually start the passport process. And because of that, I'm actually going to be able to make it on time. I'm definitely in and looking forward to being able to film this whole thing for a future Key of David in the Field episode, essentially, for this trip. So thank you, everybody that's donated.
And so far, you've got about $450. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So it's a total of $450.
$450 probably needs another $1,500 more. Everybody to cover his costs.
Yep, we figure it's about $2,000 a person is what the total cost is. So
Yeah,
okay,
David is a worthy cause for sure. He wouldn't be able to afford this without us. It'll be perfect. We're super excited.
And I'm hoping we air this. It is Thursday. We might not air it before conference, so this might air after conference. I hope that we have an amazing conference. I hope that there's some amazing things that get shared, and I'm really looking forward to this weekend, to this conference weekend. I've got Chief Mitiga and a couple of his friends staying at my house this weekend. I'm going to go to conference with them, so it's going to be a great time. Lance, thank you so much for coming on and agreeing to do this. Again, go to our link tree, be one of the first 6 to sign up, come on a trip to Mexico with the 4 of us, and let's go see these sites, and let's see if we can feel if these are the sites, the Temple of Nephi, the land of Zarahemla, in these places that we've read so much about in the Book of Mormon. David, Trevor, any final things?
Listen, even if they're not, this is going to be a freaking cool trip, and it'll be fun. Like we aim to please, we aim to entertain.
Hey, I was going to ask real quick, what do you think they're going to do at conference? Do you think maybe they'll announce some new scripture?
No,
we always hope, and we never get.
They're going to announce
These
15
days.
new temples. Here's my prediction: they're going to announce 15 new temples, and that we're doing a different font. Anytime somebody says the word Mormon, they have to spell it with this font to not get a copyright infringement.
Yeah, I listen.
Trevor's really helpful here.
Every conference, I'm hoping for some big bomb. Well, who knows? I mean, we are living in some very interesting times. It's an election's right around the corner. We've got Iran that just sent a bunch of missiles over. We got hurricanes that are just destroying cities. We're living in some interesting times.
Next episode, we should talk more about Israel.
Yes, totally.
Prophecy. We'll get there.
Let's really, really pay attention and see if they're giving us information that we need to dig for. So for myself, I'm Shane Baldwin. For David the Lion Douglas, I fly home tomorrow. I'm so excited to get back home. I've been away for a couple of weeks. For Trevor the Keys And for Lancelot Weaver, thank you for tuning in, and make sure and join us on our first ever Zion Media Tour down to Mexico. We'll see you guys next time, and hopefully in Mexico. Hey!
I hope I walk the path to Zion, where truth and light can guide me through. I seek the face of my Redeemer, to find my purpose clear and know just what to do. Through every trial, through every shadow, I'll seek the light that breaks the night. I wanna know the deeper meaning, I wanna see His guiding light. I'm seeking Zion, I'm seeking truth, I'm searching for the way to find my place with you. I want the promise, I want the call, to know my purpose here, to give to you my all. I hope I walk the path to Zion, where truth and light can guide me through. I seek the face of my Redeemer, to find my purpose clear and know just what to do. Just what to do. Through every trial, through every shadow, I'll seek the light that breaks the night. I wanna know the deeper meaning, I wanna see His guiding light. I'm seeking Zion, I'm seeking truth, I'm searching for the way to find my place with you. I want the promise, I want the call, to know my purpose here, to give to you my all. I hope to hear the words unspoken, the small voice that stirs my soul. I long to see the heavens open, to know my purpose here, to give to you my all. To you my all, to you my all, to you my all. I hope to hear the words unspoken, it's the small voice that stirs my soul. I long to see the heavens open, to know my purpose here, to give to you my all. I'll climb the mountains, I'll cross the sea, whatever it takes to bring me to my knees. With every step, I'll draw more near, until your love is all I feel, all I hear. I'm seeking Zion, I'm seeking truth, I'm searching for the way to find my place with you. I want the promise, I want the call, to know my purpose here, to give to you my all. I'll go back to Zion, across to see your face someday, to understand you in your kingdom, to know your love will guide my way.